Welcome to our community art event to celebrate Anti-Poverty Week. My name is Jo Brookshaw. I'm a Salvation Army officer, but I'm also an artist. We're going to do some art together and we're going to get into that in just a moment. But first I just wanted to tell you, the Salvation Army is really passionate to see the end of poverty. And so we're coming together today because we want to communicate to people what it's like for people living day to day with poverty, so that awareness can be raised and so that we can bring about change in the wider community as they understand what poverty is really about. Our big theme for this art event is, what does poverty look like to you? And we want you to think of a picture that shows people what your experience is like surrounding poverty. Here's some prompts. Let me just read them for you. What worries go through the mind of someone struggling to get by? Or perhaps you might like to think what food might be on their dinner plate. Another idea, what thoughts and feelings might someone be going through when they can't make ends meet? Or perhaps, how might a person experiencing poverty have fun and celebrate special occasions? I have some hand sanitizer here. We ask that you please, before you do anything, sanitize your hands. Just grab a little, rub it in your hands, and get your hands all sanitized so we're COVID safe. Now, in front of you, you should also have a canvas, some paints, just like this, and some brushes, and a jug of water. Yours might look different. And importantly, we have this form. So we want you, when you're finished painting today, to remember to fill out this form. It has some important information that we really want to know about you and your painting. So let's have a look at what it says here. Can you make sure you put in your name, your contact number, the name of your painting? You might have some time while you're making the art to think about what your painting could be called. And also some permissions that you're giving to the Salvation Army to say whether you would like the Salvation Army to exhibit your work in our special exhibition we're doing for Anti-Poverty Week. If you do, write yes in that one. You can tick that. For the next one, it is important, if you would like to have your painting returned to you after the art exhibition, tick yes or no, depending if you want the Salvation Army to just keep it. On the back is very important that we'd like you to fill this in, what my artwork represents to me. If you can write down what your artwork means, so that we can have a first-hand account of what your picture represents, so that people can understand where you're coming from. Now, finally, we can talk about the painting. We would like you to take your canvas and put it in this position. It's called landscape. We don't want paintings this way if we can help it. We would like them to be this way so that when we exhibit them, they look beautiful on the walls. So have a think about what kind of image you can put in this orientation. Okay, next, we would like you, if you would like to draw something in before you paint, just to make sure that you've got things in the right positions, just lightly sketch it so that the lines don't show through, and don't put all shading and things like that. You just need a light outline. So just say I was going to paint a dinner plate on here. I could draw a circle here, maybe a fork and a knife on this side, and that just helps me to know what I'm going to put on my canvas. Next thing you'll need to know is your paints. So you've got a selection of colours here. They're probably brand new out of the packet, so just to make sure that you can get them working, you take the lid off like this. Inside is a little tiny point, and you just turn it upside down and give it a good twist, and then the tube will be open. And then that allows you to squeeze some of the paint out, just like that. Okay? Make sure that you don't put too much paint out that you're not going to use. So don't put all of the colours on your plate. Just put the colours that you think that you are most likely to use from the start. Now, when you are painting, I want you to cover the whole canvas in paint. We want to have lots and lots of colour and shading on there. So make sure you don't leave blank spaces. When you're getting started, just with a background coat, we just want some light colour over the whole surface as much as you can. That's my outline of the circle in the middle of my canvas, and I want to paint the background up until that point there so that that remains white. I can put some white paint on there later, but this is all coloured in. So to do that, I can add a bit of water to my coloured paint just to thin it out a little bit. You don't want to put heaps and heaps of water in there, but just to thin paint out a little bit so that it's not thick and sludgy for that background layer. And then you want to use the biggest brush that you've got for that space. Before you actually put the paint background on the canvas, I encourage you just to use your brush with only water and just wet the canvas down a little bit so that the paint goes on a lot easier. That means that you don't have to be using quite so much paint to cover all of that space, because the paint just slips around a little bit easier. Okay, so now my canvas is wet on the outside of my circle. When I do the background, I just want to get the areas outside that circle so that they have a bit of colour in them. Now, don't be afraid of drips. I actually really love drips on my paintings. So if it moves around the canvas a little bit, don't be scared. You might feel like covering it up again a little bit later with a different layer, but the aim is just for this first layer to get a basic amount of paint onto your canvas. Here is my first layer. Now, I don't want to paint straight on that unless I want things to blend in. So guess what? I can leave that and have a little break while it dries. While you're waiting, if you're speeding along and you're being really quick, maybe you could find someone else to help if they need any assistance, or maybe they haven't found an idea yet. You can help them by just by having a chat. So for the next layer, you want to start using thicker paints, but just remember that we don't have a huge amount of time today, so you're not going to be able to do lots of layers on top of each other. So I suggest that when you're painting, you leave gaps, just like we did in the first layer. If you have light colours, you leave a gap for the light colour and then you go in paint in the light colour separately. Okay, so just a tip, when you're using your paint brushes, please wash the brushes as you go. So if you're going to change colours and use the same brush, you just want to get your water jug, give it a mix around, get it nice and clean, and then with a bit of paper towel, just wipe it off. I like to have a bit of paper towel just sitting by me, and I can just dab it on there as I go. So feel free to just put some different colours together, and see I've made quite a bunch of different colours here just so that I've got some different shades. So here is my dinner plate, and I want to make sure that I get some colours down on here. So we're putting thicker paint in this time, so we don't need to worry so much about having it dripping all over the place. On this plate, I'm going to put a piece of toast. So I want to just leave a toast-shaped gap in the middle there, and then after I've finished this colour, I can move on to painting a piece of toast in there. Something about painting is that warmer colours pop out more to you. So if you do a cooler colour in the background and warmer colours towards your foreground in the picture, you will find it seems to be jumping out a little bit. Remember as well, you don't have to do long strokes like this. You can also do some little strokes if you want to create a bit of texture. So I could be doing a little bit of dotting to make it look like a bread texture. So you can do dots or lines. You can drag the paint around with the brush. You can shade it and mix it in. I'm thinking about when somebody is experiencing poverty, that they don't have the ability perhaps to have the kind of meals that they would like to have for dinner. So you might think that this is a breakfast meal, but this could be dinner for someone who can't afford to have veg and things like even fish fingers and meat and things on their plate. So you have to sometimes make do, don't you, when according to what you have the finances for. So there, I'm just making that a little bit brushy looking, because you know when you spread your Vegemite on, it doesn't always look super smooth, does it? So we can put dark bits and lighter bits as we go. So that's a very basic example of how you might like to do a picture, but it has all the essentials of background, doing some lighter, cooler colours and some warmer colours to show you how that works on a painting. And so you see that background now has covered all of the back of the canvas to make it look really beautiful. You may even want to paint the sides there. It can be the same colour or a different colour, just to give it a really nice finish at the edges there. So when you are finishing off your painting, if you got to the stage where you go, I think my painting's done, you need to make sure that right at the end you put your name down in the right hand corner. Joe and B. Joe B is what I write. So you might think of your own short name that you can put down in the corner just to show that that is your painting. Wonderful. A reminder that when you're finishing up your painting, once you've completed it, put it aside to dry, and then please, it would be so very helpful of you to clean up after yourself. So if you could wash all your brushes, go and clean out your water jugs, dispose of your paint plates into the bin, and make sure that you've got everything cleaned up and tidied up after yourself. That would be extremely helpful. Thank you so much. Here's my Vegemite on toast finished up, and I hope that today you have a wonderful time painting with us. We're so pleased that you're willing to share your thoughts about poverty, both with us and with those who will see your paintings later at the exhibition. I just want to say thank you on behalf of the Salvation Army, and God bless you. See ya.